Hi guys, Greg at Best Choice Trailers. Today I wanted to take you for a walk around a maxed YDX Gooseneck hydraulic dovetail trailer. It just came in. It's got a few features on it. Wanted to take you for a walk around it. Lots of little details here to kind of point out as we go around. So again, the YDX Gooseneck hydraulic dove. This is a 22.5 GVW. And it's going to be tandem 10,000 pound axles. So some folks might say, why do two 10K axles come out to 22.5? It's because they're counting 2,500 pound tongue weight, which the reality, it's actually going to be a good bit more than that. Typically, tongue weight to a gooseneck is about 22%. 22% of 20,000 be 4,400. So depending on how you want to look at it, you're going to get maybe upward of 2,000 more pounds of payload, depending on how loaded than the 14,086 that it's stickered at. So realistically, somewhere I'll say closer to 16 would be what your actual payload on this, again, depending on what your tongue transfer percentage is. Typical rule of thumb I use is 1% per foot from the coupler to the axles. So 22 is the rule of thumb we use on shorter trailers. Just being 32 foot, probably gonna be even a little bit more than that. Let's take a walk around it. We'll show you all the features on this. This is a 32 footer. Now this does have a 12-foot tail, which is unique. There's very few in the industry that do a 12-foot tail, but it does get you a very low, get you a better angle of this. So typically hydraulic doves, I'd say industry standard, you're gonna see mostly 9 foot. Occasionally you'll see 10 foot. 12's fairly rare. On a 10-foot tail with pierced frame, and we'll get to that in a second, you're gonna get about a 13.5 degree angle. On a 9-foot tail, you're gonna be about 15. This one here, I haven't put an angle gauge, but maybe probably 11.5 if I had to guess, which is pretty low. It's actually lower than a car hauler with slide out ramps. So you should be able to get, I'll say, most any item that most guys would be trying to put on this on it. That longer tail also gives you an easier brake at the top of the hydraulic dove. So if you do load a car or similar, shouldn't have to worry too much about catching headers and whatnot, depending on what it is. Let's get started up front. So we've got a 2 5/16 inch gooseneck ball. I do like that they use the rounded flange, makes it a little bit easier if you're close. It's more likely to go on. Spring-loaded latch. This gooseneck coupler I like a little bit better than some of the ones in the market. Little details, zip breakaway cable, standard equipment. This also has a sealed cold weather wiring harness, standard 7-pin plug, similar to what's on pretty much all current vehicles. Notice this is a dual prong connection, not a single, so if you do bend one, force it in, whatnot, more likely to still make contact. Of course, you got your set bolts up on the neck, safety chains. They've got a holder here, you can put them up top. Got a little gusset, of course, full seam weld, Max D tape. You've got your vertical doublers and also your horizontal doublers. Hydraulic jacks on this are an optional feature, not standard, but this is equipped with the dual hydraulic jacks. Notice they are bolt on. Full front toolbox, standard equipped. I like the latch on this a little bit better. Of course, it is lockable. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. You've got your hydraulic outs for your jacks. This is equipped with a winch plate in the neck. It's got the roller fairlead already built onto the plate, spare tire mount. And there's your second safety chain holder. Now this one's nice because you've got the wiring not only in a sealed harness, but it's also ran in conduit throughout. So again, Max D 12-inch I-beam neck and upright. Lion's head rubber. Trusted since 1999. Moving back the trailer, you got a serrated side step, which is nice, get good grip. Rub rail, stake pocket, and then you go to a 4-inch heavyweight D-ring. Kind of nice that it's cut out. Again, back to a stake pocket, chain spool, rub rail, alternating on roughly a 24-inch center. Use a little bit heavier rub rail instead of a 3/8. It's a 1/4-inch rub rail. And I'll crawl underneath the trailer here in a sec, but if you see the top of the I-beam, that means it's gonna be a pierced beam. Some would say, what's the difference? Well, if you see wood all the way across the top of the deck, that's a 36-inch deck height. If you see a I-beam at the top, that means the cross member, instead of sitting perpendicular to the trailer on top, it's actually gonna pierce through the I-beam. It's gonna lower your deck height 4 inches, basically the height of a 3-inch cross member, and then the wood on top, the wood pretty much flush. So we've gained about 4.5 inches, 3 inches plus another 1.5 inches. This trailer's equipped with HDSS. I'll show you that as well whenever we go underneath. A lot of goosenecks to date do not have HDSS. It's basically just a heavy duty suspension system. It's actually a 15,000 pound per axle suspension. It's made with heavier components. It's kind of borrowed from the semi-truck industry. It would be, I'll say, somewhat of a copy of a Hutch 9700, or at least a very similar, smaller version of that. So again, HDSS suspension. You've got your Velcro caps, so no more of the old style plastic caps. These are aluminum Velcro, just a better quality. I'll point out too, hard to say down the road what tires these might have, but current day, they're using Westlake rubber. I point that out. I've been say using trailers and selling trailers and whatnot, reviewing trailers 14 years. And Westlake's been a great tire. You see less and less, unfortunately, of them because they are a little bit of premium rubber, but that's what they're using currently. Good quality tire. Underneath on HDSS, you can see it's heavier components made from higher tensile strength steel. It's also an adjustable suspension. Try to zoom in, but it's a heavy duty, again, semi-style leaf suspension. It's 3 heavy duty springs. And then you can see the adjustable trailing arms. I'm gonna zoom out. You've got a torque tube running down the center with a cross member. And then also want to give you a little bit of a close-up of what I meant when I said pierce beam. So it literally pierces a beam. Then you also got outriggers going to the outside as well. Notice that toolbox. Zoom in a little bit. The way it's mounted, a lot of them are just welded to the top of they just weld the top of the box, and I've seen over time where they'll peel open kind of like a tin can. This one's mounted different, worth pointing out. Again, 12-foot tail. You've got about 3 extra foot, gets you down a lot lower to the ground, better angle. Of course, you got maxed mud flaps to rear. That is actually something that surprisingly is not on a lot of trailers. I also point out there's a lot more markers going down the side, as well as a center marker on this. As far as D-rings, you've got 3 per side. On the tail, we've got blackwood. So you've got regular lumber in the center, blackwood outers, and then you've got back to a diamond tread plate tail with your cleats, roughly the first probably 3 foot. Another way you can tell a trailer's pierce beam besides the I-beam would be if you've got diamond tread runners over your tires. That's also a good indication it's pierce beam. A lot of manufacturers don't put a rating on this. On this one, we've got 10,000 pound lift, 8,000 pound carrying. That's from the center point. I've seen numbers 5,000 and 8,000, different brands, etc. I would only point out odds of you having 8,000 pounds all the way to the center point of the Dove just aren't that likely. Generally, you want your weight over the axles, maybe a little bit in front of. So, you know, some guys say, what lift my load? I've seen 3-inch lift cylinders with a 9-foot tail years ago, lifting about 140 pound or 140 horsepower farm tractors, about a 14,000 pound machine. We've got that 3-inch cylinders are the lightest that any brand I've ever seen or carried had. So I have yet to, I guess, hear of somebody with a hydraulic Dove not being able to lift, again, what they need to. But they do put a rating on this guy. Let me show you the back end, how it's built out. I'll go ahead and put this up. I've got a wireless remote in my pocket, which is nice, which is also standard equipment. So again, this is a 4-button remote, bottom 2, top 2. Top 2 are going to be hydraulic jack, bottom 2 are going to be the tail itself. Pretty quick in operation. Right there, it's level. You can go past level as well. But I wanted to lift it up. I wanted to show you, you've got extra stop turn tails. You're only required to have one. This has 2 per side. Also, like the clear lens, this gives it a nice clean look. Another thing that's different than most, different gusseting on the tail. Just don't normally see that. License plate, you can actually see it a lot better than most. This is probably 1.5 feet forward from the tail. Typically I see them about 6 foot forward on that side, and you can't hardly see them. So again, 22.5 with a rating of 14 and change, whatever that was earlier. That's saying this trailer weighs 74 empty, which is pretty accurate. Typically I'd say 7,000's pretty normal. This one's a little bit heavier built. You're picking up some weight with the HDSS, the torque tube, etc. on this. I don't remember if I showed you the side toolbox. I don't think I did, so I'll go ahead and open it up. 4-button remote as well. Again, top 2, bottom 2 for your functions. Dual batteries in this unit. These are interstate Group 24 deep cycles. You've also got wireless controller in the box. And you've got NOCO battery tender. And I believe that one's going to be a 5 amp, and then basically it's a dual battery setup. So you've got 2 batteries, and then your pump. Little details, got a troubleshooting tip if you ever have issue. There's lockable keys here. And again, you ever need to change a controller or whatnot, super easy to do. It's KTI pump. KTI's by, I'll say, pretty wide margin, the most common pump manufacturer in the industry. Parts are readily available. Better view of the winch plate I showed you earlier, and then there's also a spare tire mount ahead of the winch plate a little bit. So nice quality unit. This unit is available in different lengths. You can get it, I believe the shortest at 30 all the way up to a 40. You can go 10, 12, or 15K axles. There's different colors available, whatnot. If you have any questions on this or any of our other trailers, feel free to give us a ring, 717-220-4220. Thanks for looking.